Hi everyone. So today we have a big analysis of the 2020 Senate map and a final prediction. Well, it's definitely not a final prediction, but I guess just a overview of where we are and my first 2020 Senate prediction in quite a while. So this overall video, I guess I'll start off just talking in general about the 2020 Senate map. Then I'm going to go ahead and fill in the safe states. Then I'm going to go into detail of each of the specific states that might get competitive. And yeah, it's just going to be very interesting at this 2020 Senate map. And then at the end, we're going to just do a quick overview of the map as a whole. So overall, this map looks much better for the Democrats than it did in 2018. However, it could definitely be better for them. I mean, the 2016 Senate map, that was a really good map for the Democrats, and they wasted it on a year that really they did not do very well at all, given Clinton lost the presidency when she was meant to win it, etc., etc., etc. So definitely Democrats start off with a good shot at winning it. I probably wouldn't put them as a favorite to win it, but they have a good, solid shot at winning it, much better than the shot they had back in 2018. As if you remember, in 2018, they had so many seats they needed to defend: North Dakota, Missouri, Indiana, Florida. 10 states Trump won in 2016. Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, many Trump states where Democrats were defending their seats. And overall, they did an okay job at defending their seats. West Virginia, also Montana, New Jersey. These were many competitive races where it could have gone either way, but Democrats were slightly favored. And they kind of held on. Democrats lost seats in North Dakota, Missouri, Indiana, and Florida, but to offset two of those, they gained in Nevada and Arizona. So that's definitely something to note, that they only had a net gain, the Republicans, of two, when they definitely could have held on to Arizona. They could have picked up Montana. They could have picked up West Virginia. And they kind of wasted it on, again, a year that wasn't necessarily the best year, having a unpopular Republican incumbent as the president. So 35 Democrats, 31 Republicans. We're going to go through some of the safe states. So Idaho, I would put into the safe column, definitely a safe state there with incumbent Jim Risch. Wyoming with Mike Enzi, South Dakota with Mike Rounds, Nebraska with Ben Sasse, Kansas, the incumbent Republican Pat Roberts is not running. I'm going to come back to that one. I would put Oklahoma with Jim Inhofe in the safe column, Arkansas with Tom Cotton, Louisiana with Bill Cassidy. Could get interesting given that you need to get 50% to win on the first round of voting, but at the end of the day, Louisiana goes into the safe GOP column, especially in a runoff scenario with him and another Democrat. Mississippi with Cindy Hyde-Smith. That could get interesting given her comments in the past, but I think that people will forget about those, and it would narrowly go into the safe column. Alabama with Doug Jones, I'm going to come back to. Georgia with David Perdue, I'm coming back to. South Carolina with Lindsey Graham goes into the safe column. Tennessee, the Republican incumbent, is not running. Phil Bredesen, I don't see running again for the Tennessee Senate, given he lost in such an embarrassing fashion the last time round. Tennessee goes into the safe Republican column. Kentucky with unpopular Mitch McConnell, very unpopular, goes into that. And then Shelley Capito. It could get interesting if Richard Ojeda decides to jump into the race. If that were the case, I would put it into the likely or the leaning Republican column, given Richard Ojeda definitely could make the state interesting. But against a generic Democrat, I see it going into the safe GOP column. So that's kind of where we start off. So 42 Republicans. Now I'm going to go through some of the safer Democratic states. Oregon with Jeff Merkley. He's a potential 2020 candidate, so that could get interesting, but I'm going to put it into the safe column. New Mexico with Tom Udall goes into the safe column. Virginia with Mark Warner. That could get interesting. I'm going to put it into the safe column for now. I would need some more polling data for to put it into the likely or the leaning column. Michigan with Gary Peters, I'm going to come back to. Minnesota with Tina Smith, I will come back to. Dick Durbin in Illinois. He's quite unpopular. I could see that going into the likely column, so I will come back to that. But Delaware with Christopher Coons, New Jersey with Cory Booker, who, by the way, has just announced he's running for president. Rhode Island with Jack Reed, and Massachusetts with Ed Markey. Ed Markey actually might have a potential challenger in the Massachusetts Democratic primary, but I would still go on to put him the favorite to go on and win that Massachusetts primary. New Hampshire with Jean Shaheen, I'm going to come back to, and Maine with Susan Collins, I'm going to come back to. So 42 Democrats, 42 Republicans. I'm actually going to put Alaska into the safe column. I see that going into the safe column. So 42 Democrats, 43 Republicans. Where can the Republicans make up some of this ground? So let's go into some of the likely Republican states. There we go. Kansas, I see going into the likely Republican column. The incumbent is not running, and for that reason, that's why I'm sliding it over. Also, Kansas has been showing some Democratic trends recently. They just elected their first Democratic governor, and they just elected a new Democratic Congresswoman, Sharice Davids, who, by the way, I believe is one of the first Native American women in Congress. So Kansas sliding into the likely GOP column. As for the state of Kentucky, that one could get interesting. I think if someone like Amy McGrath runs, I could see it going into the leaning Republican column or the tilt Republican column. But against a generic Democrat, again, Democrats always lead very early on in Kentucky. London Grimes in 2014 was leading, and then she got obliterated in the general election, right? Democrats normally lead against Mr. McConnell in Kentucky. The Democrats right now, I believe, are leading in the Kentucky governor's race, according to the recent polling. But I see Kentucky going into the likely GOP column. So 45 Republicans, 42 Democrats. Where can the Republicans continue to, I guess, win? In the leaning Republican column, I see there being in the state of Texas. So Texas is an interesting state. But sorry, I forgot to fill in one more likely Republican state. That is the state of Montana. So Montana with Steve Daines. The reason why I don't put it in the safe Republican column is because there's a good possibility that the state's current Democratic governor resigns and goes into the Senate election against Republican Steve Daines. If that's the case, I see it moving into the toss-up column. I think that would be a really competitive race. Maybe a slight lead for the Republican incumbent, but that would be really interesting to watch. But at this point, against a generic Democrat, Steve Daines in Montana goes into the likely Republican column. So back to John Cornyn in Texas. Against a generic Democrat, I see Cornyn winning by about 5%. Now, Beto O'Rourke, you say, oh, he won by 3%. Well, that was because he was an exceptional kind of Democrat. He really energized the party's base. And unless O'Rourke runs for that Senate seat, I can't see John Cornyn really winning in there. I think maybe a Democrat might be able to kind of ride O'Rourke's success in a way. If Julian Castro decides to jump into the race, or his brother, I forgot his name, but anyway, either one of them might be able to kind of provide John Cornyn with some kind of opposition, but I see Texas going into the leaning Republican column. So 42 Democrats, 47 Republicans. Where can the Democrats now find success? So Dick Durbin in Illinois, he's going to win re-election. I'm almost sure of it. He is not a very popular figure in his home state, but I still see him, with that D by his name, getting enough votes to put it into the likely column. He's a Democrat in Illinois, definitely something to note there. In the state of Michigan, I see Michigan with Gary Peters going into the likely Democratic column. Something to note that Gary Peters, quite a moderate Democrat. He's only been there for one term. I see Gary Peters, though, winning in his home state of Michigan. I also see Tina Smith winning re-election in Minnesota. I don't think it would be a very difficult ask for her to do that. I think she could definitely win re-election in the state of Minnesota. So let's see where we are so far. 45 Democrats and 47 Republicans. So here's the thing with Colorado. Colorado is such a Democratic state. Cory Gardner, I would not be surprised if he didn't run for re-election, honestly. He is just starting as such a massive underdog to win re-election in the state of Colorado, which just elected a new Democratic congressperson, which just elected a new Democratic governor. Time and time again, Hillary Clinton won the state. Barack Obama won the state twice. And it just goes back and back. It's not looking good for Cory Gardner. I see Cory Gardner's seat going into the likely Democratic column, and I believe that is the first Democratic flip, the first flip of any Democrat or Republican, being Colorado with Gardner. That would definitely be one of the first, along with Alabama's Doug Jones. Talking of Alabama's Doug Jones, I see that one going into the likely Republican column. Now, some people say, whoa, look, his approval rating, he's above water in his approval rating. Yeah, he started with an approval rating like here and a disapproval rating like here. And then the more people got to know him, the more it started. Now I believe he's only above water by 6%. Now, that's something to note. That's very, very good for a Democrat in Alabama. However, I just don't see it holding for Mr. Jones. And again, he only barely won against a scandal-ridden Republican opponent, a guy who has been accused of sexual harassment, and that was a very winnable race for Doug Jones. And well, not a very winnable race. I still would have put Moore as the favorite to win, but he won, and that didn't surprise that many people. Like, it surprised most people, but not that many people. And if Republicans put up someone like a Jeff Sessions, someone like the Republican governor, Kay Ivey, I can't see this one going to Doug Jones, just because it's such a Republican state, the state of Alabama, and that cancels out the Democrats' flip of Gardner's seat in Colorado. So 48 Republicans, 46 Democrats. Let's see where the Democrats can continue some of their success. Jeanne Shaheen, I see moving into the leaning Democratic column. Now, I think it would be very close between the leaning and likely Democratic columns. But again, this is New Hampshire. This is a swing state. And even though there's an incumbent, I see Jeanne Shaheen still narrowly winning her home state in New Hampshire. So 47 Democrats, 48 Republicans. The vice president. This is going to be very interesting as to who wins the presidency. Right now, I would put Democrats as the favorite to win, but I don't want to touch this vice presidency spot yet. Martha McSally in Arizona. I want to talk about her for a little bit. A poll came out showing that even though she just got to Congress, a poll came out showing that something like 50-something%, or maybe even 60-something%, want someone new in that seat. And what's funny is that Martha McSally actually ran against Kristen Sinema and lost in the Senate race. But then, due to the late John McCain's thing and how John Kyle resigned right? The Arizona governor, Doug Ducey, appointed McSally to the seat. I think that was somewhat, I guess, careless of them because, she needs to run again in 2020. Not the most popular figure inside the Arizona Senate, inside the US Senate. I think it was kind of a mistake for Mr. Ducey to appoint her. Um, Arizona has been showing a lot of Democratic trends, and I see that one narrowly going over towards over towards the potential Democratic candidate. So 48 Democrats, 48 Republicans. Democrats need 2 to 3 more seats to win. Republicans also need 2 to 3 more seats to win. There's 4 more seats. And yeah, the state of Georgia. I see that one narrowly going to the Republicans. Now, with the state of Georgia, it's a very, very interesting state. It's a complicated state. And with the state of Georgia, the thing for Democrats is that they need to keep waiting for them to win a statewide election for the African American population to get just high enough to push them over the finish line to win a statewide election in Georgia. If Stacey Abrams ran for this seat, I see it getting uber competitive, uber close. And I could actually see Abrams winning that one, but against a generic Democrat, I see Perdue taking that one for the Republicans. So 49 Republicans, 48 Democrats. If Republicans win the presidency, then they just need one more of these Senate seats to win the Senate. So North Carolina. Let me show you this. I see Thom Tillis narrowly losing to the Democratic challenger, just because this state has been showing a lot of Democratic trends recently. And, while they may have been slightly subdued in the 2018 midterms, Thom Tillis is quite a vulnerable incumbent, according to Morning Consult, which I actually think kind of elevates the approval rating compared to the disapproval rating in their polling. For Democrats and Republicans, he's only at an even, and that's not good coming from Morning Consult. I see the Democrat narrowly winning in the state of North Carolina. So 49 Democrats, 49 Republicans. It's getting really competitive, really close. If Democrats win back the presidency, well, in order to guarantee control of the Senate, the party needs to win both seats, either party. And then if one party wins the presidency, then they would need to they would need to just win one. So in the state of Maine, I know Susan Collins, people say, will lose. However, I really don't think she will, because she has proven many times that she is able to win statewide elections in Maine. In 2014, she won by a landslide. In 2008, in Democratic wave year, she also won. In 2002, I think that was when she was first elected. I might not be correct on that. Let me just real quick. Wow, she's been there since 1997. So first elected in 1996, 2002, 2008, 2014. Why is 2020 any different? Now, I know people bring up Brett Kavanaugh, but her approval rating has not seemed to be that much affected, unlike what I thought and unlike what many people thought. Her approval rating has not really slid that much, and for that reason, I see her winning by about 3 to 4 points in her home state. And then 50 Republicans, 49 Democrats. If Trump wins the presidency, the Republicans maintain control of the Senate. If Democrats win the presidency, then they would need to win Iowa in order to win the presidency. Now, here's the thing with Iowa. I'm not comfortable putting it in either party's column. Jomny Ernst, I see winning against some kind of corporatist moderate type, but I don't see her winning against someone like a J.D. Scholten, someone like a Fred Hubbell, who kind of appeals to the voters in Iowa more. And so for that reason, I can't make an indication as to who will win. And So yeah, if Republicans take the presidency, they take the Senate. If Democrats take it and they take Iowa, they take the Senate. So yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down your suggestions below, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.